Hello, everybody. This episode is brought to you by Indiana 529. MyIndiana529.com is where I want you to go, and it's for a very specific reason. You got a week to do it, depending on when you're listening to this. By May 29th, here's what I need you to do. 2025 AD. Go upload a picture of the person you're saving for their college education. And in that situation, what you may win is a $529 contribution toward their future. Terms and conditions apply, which I always say right after that part, as opposed to 3/4 of the way through the episode. Dame, this week I now have an 8th grader and a junior in high school. And actually, this morning I glanced at my 529 balances just to calm me down. I'm running out of time, but the account is working for me. I also got to double down and look that the age-based portfolio was saving my daughter, at least, from all of this volatility. You now have a 7th grader and a 6th grader? Or no, a freshman and a sophomore. Dame, what do you got?
Sophomore and a 7th grader.
That's what I meant to say.
Different combinations, but it was all there.
Kristen, has anyone else put 529 money in your account yet, other than Dame and I, who put more than I did?
No one has asked me for the U gift code. No.
Dame?
Nobody's put money in mine either.
Yeah. Anyway, go to myindiana529.com. Get that going. Hello, everybody. Hello, Jameson, making it in right at the top of the hour today. Must have a 4-day weekend. Reverend Renfro, good to be with you. Caleb and Big Rick Swink joining us on Memorial Day weekend. Dame, you gonna fire up any weenies on the grill this weekend?
Great question. It's I wouldn't say it's a lock, but it's a strong possibility.
Kristen, wieners on the grill.
Probably burgers on the Blackstone.
Even Christmas. Alliteration's the best. Yeah. Kristen, how you feeling?
Much better than last week. Thank goodness.
Dame, I know that commenting on a female colleague's appearance is not great, but Kristen's hair is unbelievable today.
Looks very, very nice.
Those prenatal vitamins are amazing.
That's what I said.
Looks so good. Dame, I also think everyone's hair looks good because I'm a hairless cat like Mr. Bigglesworth. Happy Friday, Cheryl. Kristen, do you know who Mr. Bigglesworth is?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Why do I do this? Why do I do this?
You knew the answer to that question.
You guys want a fitness update or no?
Does it involve running?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. No, I don't know. Not necessarily.
Yes, I want to hear it.
Guys, I'm locked. Okay. I'm locked in. When was the chin episode?
Oh boy.
That's a great question.
Great question.
I can actually look back on my text. So we're going to find this here for a second. As I'm doing that, Dame, what's your relationship with fitness right now?
Minimal. If we're being perfectly honest, I was just looking at some the texts that I get in a group or tries to encourage me to be a little bit more physically fit, and I think I might start doing. You told us a long time ago that I think it was 1 year you did 30 push-ups a day. That was
yep.
And I think I'm going to do maybe a modified version of that where it's like push-ups, sit-ups, and I don't know, squats or something. Just to stay active a little bit, try and get things rolling.
January 21st, after the episode of which I said I want to de-chin myself, I got a text from a friend who then referred me to a trainer on January 21st. I started on February 2nd, I believe. I'm down 15 pounds of fat.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm up 5 pounds of muscle.
Nice.
I'm locked. And in the last 2 weeks, my nutrition has really kicked in. And this is not an ad. What I'm about to do is not an ad. I promise it's not an ad. So there's this place in Indy called Herculean Prepared Meals. Have either of you non-Indy people heard of this?
No.
No.
I mean, prepared meals, yes, but not
Yeah.
Herculean. No.
Okay. I'm holding one up. Okay. This is not an ad.
You have to say I paid for this with my own money.
Is it 5 minutes into the show? 5:25. What is that? Ruining my non-ad. Anyway, I paid for this.
Mm-hmm.
Herculean prepared meals. So there's several locations around Indy. I think there's about to be 4. So here's what it is. Like a former fitness person and then a chef, brothers maybe. The story is irrelevant. It's my entire life right now. I'm not kidding. This is keeping me so locked in. So every meal, every lunch, this is lunch. Because as a business person, you're trapped at the office. Your choices are unhealthy, expensive, or something from home that's not at all satiating or tasty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are like darn near gourmet. They're right now with the Memorial Day sale, because I went and got a bunch of the day.
But it's not an ad.
Not an ad. $7.99 per meal, which is
what?
half of what I pay for a burrito, right?
True.
They last in your freezer for a year, and the macros are on the front. The macros.
Wow.
So this street corn chicken, which I'm going to have for lunch today, not an ad. 32 grams of protein, 42 grams of carbs, 13 grams of fat, 420 calories. I've been doing these for 2 weeks. Life changer. It's a life changer.
Well, I would ask if they ship, but I don't want the answer because
They do.
it's not an ad. This is not an ad.
It's not an ad, but they do ship. I went and bought dozens of these on Wednesday when they went on sale for Memorial Day. Dozens.
I bet.
And I store them in my cold heart to keep them frozen.
Ties really well into today's show too, because you're taking the decision making out of it so that you know that you eat right. Like, this is just what I'm going to eat, and I don't have to decide. It's like Steve Jobs in a black t-shirt or whatever.
I nailed it. I'm also wearing a black t-shirt. Kristen, it's funny you say this, not the black t-shirt thing, that this is like our episode.
Yeah.
I'm currently tickled with the positive habits that I'm currently addicted to. Like it feels so good to be addicted to something good. And so today's episode is like getting addicted to good financial things. And like, how do you do that? And like, I will say when we're on the air here in a second, but us talking about addiction, we got to be careful because addiction's a real thing and we're not trivializing it or, there's no condescension in saying, here's good addiction. But there's something about being obsessed with healthy, good habits that is so invigorating,
Yeah. I'm currently obsessed with the original chicken sandwich from Burger King, so I can't relate at all.
Let me tell you, this is not an ad. The original chicken sandwich from Burger King's delicious. I haven't had one in 15 years, but they were delicious.
Couldn't have told you the last time I had one.
There's just enough black pepper in the seasoning, the crust, whatever. Hello, David.
Full fat.
They what?
The mayonnaise is full fat. It's delicious.
Sure. Same. All right. So big show this week. This weekend, I'm doing close to nothing. I'm just trying not to get back into bad food habits. Jameson wants to know, not a creepy question, the pregnancy cravings are kicking in?
I mean, I guess like it's as long as it's like an empty carbohydrate, this child tolerates it. So
I can try something new here on this live stream if you guys are interested in it. I can have everyone's comments just stream onto the screen without adding them.
Ooh.
I'll do it, but here's the thing. You all get one chance. If a troll enters this room and starts saying some wacky stuff, we're in trouble. I'm turning it on.
Okay.
You ready?
Oh.
It's on.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Who's going to be the first one?
Yeah. Who's it going to be?
Who's it going to be? Whose fingers are tickling the ivories? Everyone's terrified.
Right. They're not trying to ruin it for everybody else.
Wait. Oh, wow. That's small.
Yeah.
You see him?
Yes.
Barely.
All right. We're keeping him there. I can barely see it. That was Jameson, of course. Talking about Fazoli's because he's of that age. Kristen, do you know what Fazoli's is?
I do.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever been, though.
My buddy Chip, former co-host of this show and its origination, said, I'm finally reaching the age that Peter has always been in our group text this week, saying that I've always been an old guy. And I thought that was just a really funny line.
And accurate.
He used a hard R on Peter, which I didn't love.
Mm.
Okay. I was about to give a book recommendation, but I'm going to steer clear of that. It's a great
probably.
Probably. Good call.
Dame's going to read it, though.
I am.
Show notes. How about all the show prep?
Blows my mind. Apparently, you guys hated my idea this week, so that was good.
Talking about healthy addictions and show prep. I mean, way to go.
Yeah, it wasn't your best idea.
Oh.
Actually, I didn't read it. Did you send
it?
Yes.
What was it?
Neither of you acknowledged it.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I just filed it away in the great idea vault. Everyone's afraid to comment now because it's on the screen. Okay, let's start the show. Yeah. Okay. 3. No, we're not ready. Do. 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what will occur. We may make your question an entire episode here on the Pete the Planner radio show and podcast and live stream. We're like an all-in-one office machine. We can scan, copy, and fax. We are a live stream, a podcast, and a radio show. Dame, how was that metaphor?
It's great, I think.
Kristen, I've become metaphor as a default guy, and it is not great.
It's great for us, yeah.
You know, it's like a person that... No, okay. All right. This week's show, we are talking about how can you get... Kristen, should I go addicted or obsessed? Addicted or obsessed?
Obsessed.
Okay. How can you get addicted to healthy financial habits? We've all been addicted or obsessed with things that do not serve us. Like financially, we'll get obsessed with collecting a certain item or thing. We'll get obsessed with a certain food that then we spend a lot of money on, or we get obsessed with these sorts of weird things that take our money from us. But what is it to form financial habits where your favorite thing to do, for example, Dame, is to watch your savings grow, to watch it every month bump up hundreds, if not thousands of dollars? How do you actually do that? And Kristen, the reason we're doing this is because there's nothing better from changing a behavior issue, which at times can feel like a character flaw. And I'll say that to myself alone. And how do you turn it around to this point that it's a positive part of your life and not a negative aspect of your life? Kristen, you have a degree, a master's degree in behavioral finance. So boy, am I glad you are here. Where do we begin?
You know, Pete, as I was thinking through today's session, I think that one of the biggest ideas here is that we all have to come to this conversation understanding that motivation is not just happened upon or found because we have access to resources. Because if that were true, we would all be the best at everything because we have access to the world's knowledge right here on the devices that we're streaming the show. If access to information and resources was the barrier, we'd all be the best physical versions of ourselves. Our mental health would be great. Our financial health would be great. It's just not enough.
Let me try, Dame. Spend less money than you make. And if you're not currently doing that, change that. Does that help you?
Not entirely. I mean, it's great advice, but it doesn't necessarily help me implement and find the... I don't know if joy is the right word, but find the satisfaction in doing that. And by the way, can I note that she used the word session for today's show? And as soon as she went into what she was saying, it felt like a session.
Yeah, I almost cozied up to a chaise lounge and laid down and had her work through my demons. Kristen, in this conversation, which is why we're doing this topic today, I always personally have to take my brain to nutrition. I have to, because that's my demon, right? So I have to say, how have I taken my nutrition demons and created a positive obsession? And the show today is about doing that financially. But as a behavioral finance person, can you at least give me permission that that's a reasonable thing to do?
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable because to your point, it's really hard for the three of us to stand here as financially stable, financially educated adults and say, well, this is what you should be doing. It's much easier if we go to an aspect of our lives that we struggle with this. So to your point, for you, perhaps that's nutrition.
In Dame, it's hygiene, right? Or is that what we're doing with you?
Yeah, it's a very, very sensitive subject for me. So let's talk about it amongst the dozens of listeners that we have.
Kristen, can we talk about dopamine? Like, I feel like dopamine is a really, really important part of this entire discussion. And it's our quest for dopamine, our addiction to dopamine itself. Is that fair game?
I think that it's fair. I mean, the reality is that like the big players here, I'm using air quotes for those who aren't on the live stream here, but I think the reality is the big players are using that against us. So we need to know what's being used against us in order for us to part with our money, because that's ultimately what's happening here.
Dame, the big players, the images I got in my head of like the Players Ball, like the 90s hip hop album just went through my head, but I don't think that's what she's going for. Who are the big players? Are we talking marketers and corporate giants? Or like, what's she talking about?
I was just thinking big dopamine. It's something I've never heard before in my life, but okay. Yeah, I mean, we are surrounded by ways for us to get that fix, whether it's through the people who are marketing things to us, whether it is things that we put in our own lives on a regular basis, because we know that there's some comfort there, even if we don't necessarily associate that activity with the eventual result or satisfaction that we derive from it. We are trying to make ourselves as comfortable as possible pretty much all the time, unless you're specifically trying to step out of that world. And there's no shortage of people who will aid you in accomplishing that goal on a day in, day out, hour by hour basis.
Kristen, as a stress eater, because stress comes into this too, it's like you want a dopamine release sometimes to reset a stressful moment. As a stress eater, which means when I'm faced with stress or I'm faced with a scenario in which I have sort of dynamic feelings, I've often turned to food in that moment for that release of, oh, this is now a pleasureful moment. And I think one of the hardest things to do for me is to transition the seeking pleasure to seeking satisfaction and having it stick. It's to not eat something that is bad for me but tastes so good, but instead to know that I'm making good decisions financially. That transition, and from what I've read, it can be a 6-week transition from sacrificing pleasure to truly acknowledging and appreciating satisfaction.
You know, one, I appreciate the vulnerability there, but two, I mean, can you point to a moment, and perhaps it was the chin jokes, that like caused you to actually make that mental shift of like, I am consciously making a different decision? Or was it gradual? Like, I'm starting to make better decisions over time.
I love this question very, very much, and I'm willing to talk through it. And I think as we talk about money on the show in the next few segments, I think we can see how a person can just ratchet up the hill towards progress here. So for me at first, it was that I was doing a hard thing, and I like doing hard things. It makes me feel like I'm doing something that others are not willing to do. And that got me only so far, because then the pings of pleasure on the other side of, hey, you're doing this hard thing. Now go eat. You can now eat this calorically.
Mm-hmm.
Like that existed for a little while, right? A little while within this. But Dame, as you know, because you've been on a fitness journey, and obviously your financial life is quite stable because you've done this in the past. Once you see results, then it's like, oh, okay, I know the input. I felt the input. I felt the work. And now I'm actually seeing something. And that's sort of been the rest of the story for me here recently, at least.
Yeah, once you get over that little interim period and you start seeing the results, whether that's financially or physically or whatever, mentally, man, things really can take off, and it becomes a lot more easy to be self-sustaining at that point.
All right, coming up after the break, Dame and I are laying on a couch together, and Kristen has given us a therapy session on the radio. It's creepy. All of that's next right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Just occurred to me is is this even going to air? Because it's race day weekend.
It's a great point. It's a great point. I mean, it'll appear with our, podcast and IBJ.
Kristen, I did not put you on a Slack chain with Dame and I this week, in which I sent Dame a message that said, I think we're in trouble. I got an email from someone from the radio distributor, and they were like, can we talk about your podcast? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I've finally angered folks enough to email me.
Right.
And I was like, Dame, I think we're toast.
Yeah.
It was so much guilt, and I couldn't even pinpoint the guilt. Like I felt guilty about something I didn't exactly know what I did wrong. So then I had the conversation with the person, had nothing to do with anything. And I was like, wow, that's a guilty conscience.
As someone with a ton of anxiety, I would be so upset. Thank you for not including me in that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey. You guys watch the race?
Nope.
Yes.
For the non-Indy people, I just ask if either of these fine Hoosiers are going to watch the Indy 500, which is kind of your birth obligation. Mm-hmm. Kristen said no because she's an iconoclast. What do you mean it's extreme? Did you not spend time in these halls with the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one J. Douglas Bowles, this past fall?
Indeed, I did. I don't know. I grew up watching a lot of racing, and so it's just not really my thing now.
What's going to be your old lady thing? Like what? Like, Dame and I are old men. You are very junior, and we've got old guy stuff. What's your old lady thing? Like, what's going to be your hobby when you get old?
You guys, I am old.
No, this guy.
No. I mean, like on the inside, like I was born an adult and I just keep aging. And so there's not like an old lady thing because I am already old.
But you have fun. You go to concerts,
True.
you shotgun ranch waters. Like you are arguably fun to some. Dame's not fun. And I'm legendarily not fun.
That's also true.
Rick Swink thinks you're going to be a homesteader.
I could see that.
I think I could too.
Yeah.
We will. I mean, the collection of animals just continues to grow. So,
in theory or in reality?
I mean, in reality. And then, where does it stop? We have the room now.
Okay. So, but you haven't added animals since the last show.
No, I tried to convince him to adopt a dog that needed a home because there was a Facebook post. It was like, this dog's looking for a home. So I sent it to him and I said, isn't it the craziest coincidence? Like, we have a home and he's looking for one. That didn't fly.
Dave, my first thought there, it was like an AI bot that was trying to scam her, Like the texts you get that are like, how have you been?
You are old. Yeah.
Jason says he's just not a fan of watching cars drive in circles for hours. That's about the least fun sport I can imagine watching. I hear, like, can I work on my corporate communications with Jason, guys?
Yes, please.
I hear you. Okay, start there. And that is certainly a compelling perspective. And I appreciate you sharing that with me. My perspective is that you're dead ass wrong. No, wait. No. Sorry. It's about the tradition. It's about when Florence Henderson used to sing and Jim Nabors used to sing, and they're all dead now, but the traditions aren't. Now there's other campy celebrities that do those things.
Yeah.
Like walking back to my grandparents' house. It's eating a whole box of oatmeal cream pies in the stands. It's everything.
You do that this year?
Oh, I'm not going. I got a stupid soccer game at the exact same time.
You can do that in honor of the tradition.
You're not watching the race either.
I'm locked in. I'm Herculean meals, not an ad.
My word.
Guys, have we not talked about the Pacers? Let me just tell you this. I had a meeting right before this of which I could not do this, but I was just going to wear a Pacers jersey today, the one they gave me, all skin and the Pacers jersey. I was going to go. Yeah, I was going to bring the shoulders, bringing the lats, bringing the trapeziuses to the show today. But I will when they make it to the finals, and you will all see. I don't know. It sounded like a WWE promo that just like petered out. I don't know what to say. You guys know I'm a soccer fan, and my favorite team is now the comically bad Tottenham Hotspurs. And they somehow won their first trophy, big trophy, this past Wednesday in a game. Big day for the Spurs, and then the Sirs won that night. I mean, it's just like Wednesday was like the best sports day of my life.
Well, congratulations, Pete. I'm sure they were thankful for your support.
You guys ready to do a radio show about money?
Their second segment?
Yeah.
Oh my word, we're at 30 minutes.
Don't do this. I have a huge day that involves Herculean prepared meal. No, it's not. Sorry, it's not an ad. You guys, what if I got them to sponsor us?
I mean, as long as we got to sample some of their wares, that'd be wonderful.
That's part of it.
I meant the royal we get to sample their wares. I would like you to have them. Dan, let me give you Philly cheesesteak bowl.
Oh, you have my attention. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. How about hot honey chicken and waffles bowl? Anybody in for that?
Okay. Don't say anymore because I will search this while we're on a segment and be completely distracted.
How about patty melt bowl? Not patty mold. No one's buying patty mold.
Nobody's buying that one. Didn't do well with the testing group.
All right, let me do an ad for Herculean. Wait, it's not paid.
When I'm looking for protein, I grab the patty mold bowl. I eat it. It's good. Buy them.
How's that?
Unclear.
Oh, no.
You could have used the other voice and said, I'm going to eat Herculean bowls to grow big and strong like Mom.
Tell everyone, run quickly and buy. That's like the Indy 500 right there. That's what it sounds like all the time. Dave Calabro going, and he's on it. What am I doing? I have a job. You guys don't know I'm employed? Have you heard?
Still, it's amazing.
Shocking.
Sometimes I think so. Okay. Soccer dad group chat's blowing up on my phone right now, but I'm not going to look at it. 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show, locked in, just talking money here today. No matter what you're doing this Memorial Day weekend, I hope you're with loved ones and celebrating for all of those that sacrificed for us. Here in these United States, Kristen Elanius, the Queen of the United States, joins us. Hello, Kristen.
Hello, Pete.
And Damian Dunn once again talking how to create good habits that you can find some obsession with, because we all know we are quasi addicted to our bad habits, but how can you ratchet up the good ones? Kristen asked me before the break on my current journey towards nutrition, fitness, and health, like how do you keep committing to it? And I just said, it's finding those little results and finding those little outcomes that are meaningful. So Dame, as we transition that idea into finance, what are some pretty basic accomplishments that a person can put in front of themselves to find a little momentum in when they accomplish them?
I think whatever you choose is really important to make sure that you've got control over. It's not, you're not tracking something that is not entirely within your control. If you're looking at the balance in your stock or your 401k, don't do that. Don't do it. I think it's a bad idea, because you could do everything right that you should be doing. And if you're basing your success on the balance of that portfolio, I think you're setting yourself up for some potential disappointment and potentially impacting your long-term progress on building a more stable financial set of habits. So if we're talking about the simple things to do first, Pete, you mentioned in the first segment, watching a savings balance grow, emergency fund, something like that, where you're putting money into it. If you set up an automated contribution or deposit, I guess it would be in this case, to that account, great. And then if you can manually put some additional stuff in there, I think that's where I get the most satisfaction from. The automation, I got to be perfectly transparent with you. Automation is not all that satisfying to me, because I have very little. It's a one decision I made at one point in time, and it's a great decision. Don't get me wrong, but it's not something I am actually doing and actually forcing myself to do, choosing to do at that point. Does that make any sense to either of the two of you?
It does. I have a metaphor, but I'm going to skip it because I want to hear Kristen's voice. Kristen. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. And I really struggle. Like, I think that's probably why, to your point, Damien, that like I don't have my credit card on auto pay and just like pay it when the statement cuts. Cause like I like to go in and feel like I'm like the one in control, even though it's all going to work out the same anyway. And that's a really good point, is like, am I finding some sort of like satisfaction in being the one who makes that payment versus Discover just taking the money out of my account?
I do the same thing. And by the way, something you guys both openly mock me about every 15th of the month.
Yeah.
Is when I drive my mortgage payment physically to the bank, in the least efficient financial move in the world since Liberation Day. And I love it. It makes me feel, I'm obsessed with it. Clearly, I've been doing this for years. I think, Dame, have you ever been in that? I drive people from our office with me in the car to let them experience the joy of me paying my mortgage. I'm obsessed with it.
I've never taken that ride with you, unfortunately.
Would you drive down here the 15th of the next month? I'll take you to the bank, and then you can go back home.
No.
I'll check my calendar.
Thank you, buddy. What? Oh, Kristen, did you want to go next?
No.
Or whatever. Dame, people love round numbers. They're like, oh, when I get $500 in this account or $1,000 in this account, then I feel good. Great, do that, because I think that's beautiful. I think there's two ways to look at it. There's the round number, but then also the frequency of which you contribute, which is what you both have sort of said here. It's like, it's the act. It's the act and the activity that can be celebrated, not just the outcome, you know?
Yeah, and I want to be clear. Having some of your core financial decisions being done through automation, zero issue with that. We save for retirement through automation, through 401k, 403b, coming automatically out of your paycheck. Great decision. Paying certain bills through automation, no issues with that. Great financial decision. What we're talking about here is trying to make sure that you are building good financial habits that you can take some pleasure in, that can reinforce yourself. And by you taking the conscious decision of actually doing something, I think is more effective. So, Pete, you taking that mortgage to the bank, great. Me adding an extra $50 to a 529 account, great. You're reinforcing those good habits here. So if there's anybody misunderstanding what we're talking about here, please don't automate your financial life. It is a game changer in a lot of cases. But if you are trying to actively build financial habits, you can't put it on autopilot. You have to be engaged. That is what a good financial habit is going to, that is when a good financial habit is going to pay off for you in the long run.
Kristen, I have a couple thoughts. One, it's going to tap into some of your student loan knowledge, and the other one's in wellness in general. So it's your choice. What shall you and I talk about next? My wellness angle here, or your expertise on student loans in relation to a thought I just had?
Let's go the wellness angle. I love
Wellness angle. So the reason you're supposed to get physically fit and strong as you age is so that you can better handle aging. It's so that your body can better adapt to the natural changes that are coming. And so like a lean, resilient body is going to age more gracefully. Financially, it's not that different. Developing the sort of habits that we're talking about, doing the sorts of things that allow you to be financially nimble will allow you to have more optionality in your financial life, which makes you healthier. Is that not the spirit of financial wellness?
I think that metaphor tracks is like you build those good habits so that, I mean, I feel like that kind of ties to the retirement conversation we had a few weeks ago about how like you have the ability to make the decisions now. You need to make them now because future you might not have that same opportunity to make those decisions. I feel like all of those things go together.
Kristen, when I pay my mortgage in person, the first thing I do is when I get the pay receipt, they're yellow, they look like this, they look like checks. I got them all with me. I have them all. And I look at the balance reduction and I text Mrs. Planner, this is what we owe. A full obsession.
You know, that's so interesting because in a similar vein, there was this creator I followed and I don't remember her name who they were trying to be mortgage free. Like that was their goal. We want to be mortgage free by the time I think like lining up with kids college or something like that. There was a specific reason. And she had a calculator and she would put into the calculator every time they saved even like $10. She would put it into her calculator and say, okay, when I apply this to the principal on my mortgage this month with my extra payment or with my regular payment, this is how much it's going to save me over the life of the loan. And she was super, super popular because people found that really motivating to say, hey, this $10 is going to save me $100 or whatever, depending on the loan size and interest rate, of course. And I think that's really interesting is to be able to see that like, hey, look, this is what I did. This is what I was able to do through this sacrifice or this payment.
I like that. Dame, do you like that?
I do like that. And can I have another moment of transparency? Pete, I like at least once a quarter, I'll look at the mortgage statement and tell Mrs. Advice what the balance, how much we have left on the mortgages.
Are we twins?
No, Dad.
Okay, sorry. But by the way, this is off kilter. I'll get to my student loan appointment in the next segment. But every time I hear, I follow a creator, I'm like, God. I think it's so weird that people are creators. It's so weird. Just like it's such a strange phrase to me. I'm like, are you talking about God? Okay, coming up after the break, maybe we will talk about the creator. Maybe we will talk about how to form better financial habits and what student loans have to do with this at all. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the Pete the Planner show. Well, that's my creator. It's like when Jay-Z talks about, we used to talk about Rihanna. What do the kids call her? Rihanna?
I think it depends on the intro.
He go, that's my artist. He always would talk about it. That's my artist. That's my creator. That's God. I have a lot of pre-workout still flowing through me right now, guys.
You
Nice.
don't say.
Along with
Creatine?
Herculean
prepared meals.
Do you think our producer's alcohol consumption for the weekend starts at 10 a.m. on Fridays?
Probably. Yeah. Kristen, I got all sorts of things going in me now. I got creatine. I got pre-work. I mean, it's gotten dumb.
Are you a protein shake kind of guy?
Yeah.
Or is it strictly the Greek yogurt?
No, I mean, it has been a game changer. But no, just a lot of protein. Protein's expensive though.
Protein is very expensive. Lean protein, I should say, is very expensive.
Damn, I'm going to say the most me thing ever. I read this New York Times article about how expensive protein is. like the dumbest. I like the worst part. There's a lot of bad parts of me. One of them is something is considered legitimate when there's a think piece about it in the New York Times. Like that's how my brain works, and I just I hate that about myself. I'm very self-aware
I think we're in agreement
that I have a lot of bad parts.
that we
Oh.
agree that. Never mind.
Dame, this is an interesting question for you. What platform or news source or whatever that when an idea hits it, it legitimizes it for you? Is that a fair question? Kristen, think of the same.
Okay.
I
I have Kristen's answer, by the way.
mean, it's probably the Wall Street Journal. It's the one that I look at the most frequently. If it's local, it's IBJ. No, I'm not pandering, but I go and look at their stuff regularly.
That's the Indianapolis Business Journal Media Podcast Network. Kristen, are you going to say TikTok?
No, I wasn't going to say TikTok. I actually am on a Wall Street Journal kick lately myself. Their nudges, they get me, and I've been paying a lot more attention to their app here of late.
Every time we talk about the Wall Street Journal, I got to remind you, it will not allow me to subscribe. I've tried to give them my money so many times, and whatever it is about my email address, it will not let me subscribe.
If only you knew somebody who could create you another email address.
Not only that, but we recently learned that you're a Pandora user. So I don't know that I trust your judgment on not being able to subscribe.
I've learned that sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I taught that. I learned that from my
They
dad.
should. You should be bullied into not using Pandora.
Sometimes I think I discover things later than others. Like Spotify is the greatest thing in the world because everyone mocked me at our coworkers. I'll scream at the top of my lungs, I am the chief executive officer of these halls. And people will be like, you're a boomer, get off of Pandora. And I did, and it changed my life.
Yeah, I can't believe. And were you a paid subscriber to Pandora?
Alert. I was a paid subscriber to Pandora. Guys, please. I've got a lot of challenges in my life.
Anyway.
Dame, what's your source?
Apple Music.
That's
You're a serial killer. What's wrong with you?
It's always worked for us. So it's where we are.
Oh, I like that he takes Mrs. advice into this so that we can't make fun of him. That's a smart move. I'm not making fun of her. But if you hadn't said that, I'd be jumping on you for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm not. All respect. That's my artist. My accountant.
To be perfectly transparent, I think Spotify is probably the better platform, but I'm so deep into Apple Music at this point that I don't know if I can break away.
That's my creator. I'll find audio of Jay-Z saying that's my artist.
Okay.
Very funny. Okay. What are we doing? What's the subject?
Segment 3, financial habits. Be healthy.
I don't know, whatever your outline said.
I told you my daughter officially got the job for the summer, right?
Yes.
You didn't. Last week on the show, that is not the update. The update, she was going to find out. So
she found out she's employed.
Good.
So we'll see what happens. I'm not buying a single thing for her ever again.
She put money into her 529?
That's a good question. No, but she is saving money, and I'm going to actually start her on an investment account, her own investment account this summer, which is, Dame, is so much harder than it should be.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of world problems in our world. How hard it is for a kid to open an investment account is one of the dumbest. I get it. I'm not an idiot. I mean, I am an idiot, but it is such a pain.
Yeah, it's unnecessarily difficult.
Because they can't do it. You have to work around and obfuscate, and it's just so stupid. David asked if I still have to drive her to work. No, she gets her license in about 2 weeks. So already passed everything. Just go and get an eye exam. Let's go. All right.
The odds are in your favor.
Yeah. She only has 30 roundabouts to drive to get to work every day.
She can shortcut about 3 of those, I'm sure. Just cut
Drive
right
all the time.
Yeah.
It's an SUV. 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Here's what we're talking about. Everyone has bad financial habits. We get used to them. We tolerate them. We cover for them. We apologize for them. We learn to live with them. But boy, does it feel good to take one of those and take that habit and turn it into a good, positive, proud habit you can get appropriately obsessed with. That's the title of the show. All 100 of those words. Kristen Elenius, a master's degree holder and professor at Texas Tech University in behavioral finance, joins us. And then our friend Damien is here.
That's fair. You know what? I can't even be angry at that.
Oh boy, I have the same qualifications. Actually, I have fewer qualifications than you, Dame, as you are a certified financial planner practitioner. Kristen, we were talking right before the break about what student loans have to do with this. I've had this theory for a very long time, and you are truly one of the foremost experts on student loans in this country, that one of the reasons that we have a student loan problem is because people don't actually care about their balance going down. They don't know their balance. They don't look at their balance. They make a payment. They're so annoyed that they have a payment. They don't know how the payment actually impacts the balance, and therefore they just conveniently forget about it. But if people got obsessed with watching the balance come down, I think it could change that. Is that a bunk theory, or is that true?
I think that's totally accurate, but P, it starts before that. It starts with how easy it is to borrow the money in the first place, and the fact that you can almost entirely remove yourself from that increasing balance while you're seeking higher education. And then when repayment starts, it's like, oh, I owe $40,000 and I had no idea that I owe $40,000. I signed a promissory note, but that was something that 18-year-old me did 3 years ago. Like it starts before that, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's the grace period that tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, because I don't actually really know the number of how many people graduate. Hundreds, millions? I don't know. They're about to enter into the workforce. They're all about to enter a 6-month grace period. Actually, they probably have all just entered a 6-month grace period on their student loans. And that's the period of time of the people who dig in and say, thank you for the grace period, but I'm now going to engage with this process right now. Those are the people that have a chance of figuring it out more quickly than the people that just are like, oh, great, I'll figure this out in 6 months. And I think it's to your point, Dame, how often do you see when someone gets a little bit of a wiggle room and they wiggle themselves a lot of room, and then that false sense of comfort really creates the issue?
Yeah, that's not uncommon at all. And I think, if we're talking about student loans specifically, but you could apply this line of thinking to whatever your goal is that you're chasing or whatever habit you're trying to build. Yeah, that focus is going to be different. Student loans, if you're pursuing public service loan forgiveness, I don't care what the balance is. I mean, who cares? I'm going to be more driven by the thought of eliminating a monthly payment. In that case, that means way more to me. So I'm probably going to track the number of payments that I've made that qualify at that point. So if you are, thinking about financial habits and trying to figure out what you're going to track, make sure it matters to you, because just because it means something to somebody else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have any bearing or motivating factor on your life or your progress towards building that habit. It's really important to be self-aware and know what makes you tick, what motivates you in order to build this habit and have it sustain.
Kristen, Dame talked about something earlier and we kind of glossed over it because that's when Dame starts talking, we just, okay, thanks. But it was brilliant.
Oh.
And it was this idea that when you're looking at your investment accounts and that becomes the obsession that has literally nothing to do with you other than you chose the allocation, that it's such a waste of energy and focus. And I think an extension of that, Kristen, is when people stare at crypto prices. Like, it's like you want to talk about something you are so far disconnected away from its success. It's whatever the wacko crypto world is doing, and then spending time, energy, and thought on that.
Yeah, 100%. Both of Damien's thoughts there go together really well, which is that it has to matter to you and it's something you have to have some sort of control over. Maybe if you want to look at the dollars you've contributed to your investment account and say, wow, I've contributed, 65% of this balance or whatever, that's phenomenal. But make sure that it is something you have control over and that in the end, it actually matters.
Dame, what do you think about this idea? I'm in. This is speed round, primarily because the caffeine coursing through my body right now is I can feel it in my eyebrows, which is a unique thing. Dame, even things like, hey, we're going to eat all 5 weekday meals at home this week, and then maybe we'll add one of the weekend meals to home as opposed to dining out. Those are the sorts of little games that a person can play with themselves, the little challenges they can put in their way. We used to talk around here years ago about counting your transactions over the course of a week and then trying to set them at just 10 transactions for the entire week. Talk a little bit about how little games and challenges can add to this motivation.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're finding ways to try and lock in and focus on whatever you're doing financially, it doesn't have to be a huge challenge or huge thing to set up. In fact, I think it probably makes sense to make it pretty easy the first couple times to give yourself a little bit of motivation. You don't want to get yourself shut down out of the gate because that's probably going to put up a mental roadblock to you continuing to pursue good financial habits. So whatever you're going to choose, do that. And then the thing that I would encourage you on top of that is that when you recognize that you made a good decision, do something about it. Your example, Pete, if you know that you typically dine out 3 times a week, but you only do 2, maybe 1 this week, how much money do you think you saved doing that? And if you can quantify that, do something with those dollars that you saved, that you feel like you saved, instead of just letting them sit there and potentially get spent on something else. Capitalize on that good decision, put it towards that financial goal. Don't wait. Take care of it so you can not only get that motivation, but actually make progress towards your financial goal.
This is pretty basic, but Kristen, when he's just said that, and again, this is super distilled, oversimplified, and arguably reductive of we usually have to spend $62 on pizza on Friday night. We're not doing that tonight. We're dining in. $62 payment to Capital One Visa in the moment after the dessert, after the pudding. You just put that right in. What do you think, Kristen?
Absolutely. And I think you take that a step further and you find a calculator that shows you how much that saved you in interest, particularly if you're someone who's working on paying off consumer debt, because the reality is that pizza cost you, probably double that by the time you make the minimum payments over the life of that obligation. So to say, wow, that $62 decision actually saved me $100 or whatever the amount is so powerful.
Dame, how often when you're talking to people, because both Kristen and Dame on a rather regular basis, meaning their jobs, they talk to people all day long about these sorts of challenges. And Dame, I'm curious, how often is it helpful to find another area of a person's life in which they have discipline and a lot of really healthy, good habits and use those as this crossover element of tap into those ideas as you're trying to flex some new muscles?
Sure. If you can find similarities or something that they feel like they're really confident in and try and draw some parallels with their financial lives, once they can start making connections to things that they're comfortable with, they're confident in, man, it can make a big difference in saying, all right, here, we're going to do something really similar here and try and figure out how to game plan, how to work that financial habit into their area that they're more confident with.
We received, we get feedback all the time from our coaches. They're talking to people. And we don't usually talk about this on the show or the radio show or the podcast, but I got one the other day. We all got it yesterday, actually. And I thought it was really interesting because it plays into this idea of what we're afraid of with the habits we've formed. And it's simple. The help I received was presented in a non-judgmental way. I think I might be able to get my mess straightened out now. Are bad habits not just a mess? And straightening them out is coming to terms with them and forming new good ones. And that truly, the simplest feedback we ever get, something like that. But it's just that's the essence of this whole concept.
Absolutely.
Stunning words. All right, listen, coming up after the break, biggest waste of money of the week. I think it's a good one. I say that every week. Next on the Pete the Planner show. You guys see the one that just came in? Well, you guys don't check your email during the show.
No, we're busy talking to you.
Oh my, you didn't read this.
Yes, I did.
How did
Well,
you read this?
When Dame starts talking,
Tune out.
I'm out. Like, although I did hear you call him Damien in that segment, and I was
Did
like, do we have a new guest on the show?
It was our session.
Oh, yeah, I had to call him by his government name.
At least I'm not on the dad soccer chat right now.
True. Hey, the show got a shout out in that feedback. That's nice.
Oh, I guess I didn't read it.
Didn't read it.
Oh, hi, that person. Now that, anyway.
Calmcast.
You guys, those are winding down. I was telling Kristen, you'll appreciate this as an academic. That wasn't a pejorative. Why didn't you make that face?
Nothing.
Dame, did that feel spicy?
I wasn't listening, to be perfectly honest.
Look at you. That's my queen.
Herculean meals in the delivery time.
No, I'm engaged in Slack now. I'm trying to communicate with a coworker.
You
Get off the Slack. Okay. Kristen, I was explaining on the Navigating Now podcast yesterday.
Welcome to Navigating Now, real talk for rocky times. A Pete the Planner Calmcast.
How the yield curve works and how coupon rate and demand and changes yield. And so I'm explaining this. This is a complicated concept, right? It's like there's moving pieces in several directions. So I'm explaining it to camera yesterday during this 10-minute
Calmcast.
And as I'm explaining it, and I got it right, I'm starting to second guess my explanation. And I was talking to Dame yesterday. I was like, that's happened to you, right? Kristen, does that ever happen to you when you're explaining like an incredibly complicated concept and you're saying it and then you're listening to the final and is that right? Do you ever do that? Or is it just Dame and I?
Literally happens to me all the time.
Oh my gosh.
It's so bad. And the more you second guess yourself and then you're like, I gotta Google that.
It always makes me think, this is 2009. Yeah, it had to be 2009 based on what I'm about to say. Dame is going to remember this. Kristen will not. Quantitative easing as related to the housing crisis. So I'm on, I used to do Wish TV, the CBS affiliate in Indianapolis all the time. It was like the station I was on. And so I was in studio and I'm sitting there next to Eric Halverson, who was the anchor at the time. And this is like, the economy's melting down. Like, it's just a nightmare. We're going through some questions. And Eric turns to me, we're on stools, which always makes you look schlubby. And he goes, can you explain quantitative easing to us?
Oh,
which is truly one of the most complicated things to explain to a 6 p.m. news audience ever. And so to this thing, I'm explaining it the best I can to make it actionable and slowing down at the end because I'm finishing every station with a question mark. Like, it was wild. I found that in mortgage-backed obligations also very tough to try to explain in it.
Sure.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys, oh my gosh. Right late. It's carbohydrates day. You know that?
you don't eat carbohydrates every day?
It's carb day at the track, Kristen. I'm being pithy.
Right over my head. Okay.
Well,
Interesting. Can you tell me what kind of carbs those cars use these days?
No, and Pete couldn't either.
I bet you could.
okay, here we go.
They don't use carbs.
They don't use carburetors.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fuel injected. Is that right? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. 3, a 2, a 1. In a second. Threw it off your system. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner show, is the Lunya Men's Meditative Gray Washable Silk Boxer. The quest for the ultimate boxer, that's boxer shorts, meaning you're not buying Mike Tyson, you're buying underpants, ends here. These boxers, and I don't mean the AKC champion dog breed boxers, I mean panties, are crafted with an innovative design that combines a secure stay-in-place waistband with just the right stretch for comfort, thoughtful details like discreet side vents.
Time out.
Yeah.
Dame, what can you tell me about discreet side vents on underpants?
I have no idea. If you could, I could go my entire life without ever hearing you say the word panties again and be perfectly fine.
I said pantries. Get your
No.
mind out of the gutter. I'm back in. Thoughtful details like discreet side vents enhance mobility, while French seams deliver a smooth finish that feels incredible against your skin. Made from premium silk, they strike the perfect balance between luxury and everyday functionality. With this level of craftsmanship, these boxers redefine what it means to lounge in style. Kristen, I mean, how much do you know about boxer shorts?
Little to none.
We did not ask that in your job interview. Was that one of the questions on your job interview back in the day?
No, I think you guys skipped right over that in my onboarding.
So you don't know much about them.
No.
How much are these?
These are real silk for real.
Yeah, I mean, spadas in your underpants. It's real silk. Are they worms or spiders? What's silk?
Silkworm.
Worms.
Yeah.
Oh, worms in your underpants. Well, how much?
Per pair. These are $150.
Okay, damn.
Did you say meditative? In the
They're
description?
meditative. Yeah, you sit in these things and
Washable.
you just think about stuff.
I mean,
Did I mention French seams?
yeah, and side vents,
They're washable.
$60.
$88.
A steal, really.
Dame, what's in the news this week?
President Trump's big, beautiful tax and spending bill squeaked through the House this week with over 1,000 pages of changes that could reshape everything from taxes to health care. The bill gives tax breaks to high earners, seniors, and businesses, and even includes a $1,000 Trump account for every newborn. It also boosts standard deductions and the child tax credit, at least temporarily, but it comes at a cost. Nearly $4 trillion will be added to the national debt and deep cuts to programs like Medicaid, food stamps, and green energy incentives. Up to 7.6 million people could lose their health coverage, and clean energy tax credits, including the $7,500 credit for EVs, gone. Solar stocks tanked on the news, which, by the way, remember, I picked a solar stock for my... Okay, anyway, it also scrapped some student loan repayment options, including Biden's SAVE plan, which many borrowers were already abandoning because it ain't going to pass the legislative challenges or judicial challenges at this point. And then the bill also needs Senate approval, but that may be a tough sell because some Republicans are uneasy about the Medicaid cuts and rising debt, especially after Moody's just downgraded the U.S. credit rating. The White House wants it signed by July 4th. Stay tuned.
Kristen, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. How many days did they have to read this?
That's always your question. I feel like you've asked that several times.
I just need to know.
They all have Chat GPT that can give them the highlights, Kristen.
Yeah. Ha ha.
This question seems cynical, and it may or may not be. But Dame, based on what you've read, which is the same as what the people have voted on this read, what are the good parts of the bill? What are the positive aspects being sold? Why are we doing this versus something else?
So a lot of the Trump tax cuts are going to be sticking around,
Okay.
or maybe even expanded. The standard deduction gets bumped up, and I think there's an actual escalator tied to inflation that'll be on it.
Okay.
Kristen?
How is that good? It's adding $4 trillion to the deficit.
It's give and take. I mean, I agree with you, but it's still give and take, and that's in the spirit of what I was asking.
Yeah. Okay. Kristen's for higher taxes for everybody. That's what I just heard. Higher taxes for everybody.
Okay.
What else is in the news?
Okay, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Were you had more meat on that bone?
I could have fumbled through a couple things.
Move on.
That's all right. Speaking of that credit downgrade, Moody's just took the U.S. credit rating down a notch, dropping it from AAA to AA1. That's capital A, lowercase a, 1, because that's crazy. Why? Too much debt and way too much interest. The U.S. paid over $1.1 trillion in interest last year, which is more than the military's entire budget. Moody's said leaders keep kicking the can on fixing deficits. Big surprise. And the other big credit agencies, S&P and Fitch, already downgraded us years ago. Moody's was the last holdout. Treasury brushed it off. The markets haven't flinched too bad, and investors still love U.S. debt. But it's another warning shot as Congress pushes forward more tax cuts and spending, adding trillions more to the tab. Because apparently, even with a mountain of debt and no budget discipline, the U.S. is still the least sketchy option in the global group chat.
Kristen, by the nature of our work and having passed the Series 7 exam years ago in 66, I happen to know a modicum more about debt ratings than the average human.
Mhm.
So I have two thoughts here. Number one, the current rating of which Moody's just went to is still really high. And the
Really?
second thought I have is, based on what's going on, shouldn't it be a lot lower?
I agree with both of those statements, actually. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do you remember reading, like, Dane was laughing about, he said double A is what, subnumeral 1 or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, that's high. That's crazy, dumb high. And by the way, the system, the categorization system is really stupid, but like, that's really high. It probably shouldn't be that high.
Yeah, probably not. I think the stats I shared were that 11 countries hold the highest rating in the world, and that 6 countries hold the rating that we currently hold as a nation. And I'm just like, is that really okay?
Dame, what is it that makes a junk bond? Is it B rating? I'm looking right now.
I think it's different between because they all have their own scoring, but is it single B?
Yeah, I'm going to find out right now.
Double B?
All
I
right.
don't remember which one is which.
I don't either. Clearly,
Okay. Yeah, so this is what's so dumb. Okay, so let's just go through how dumb this is. Everyone's about to learn how dumb this is. S&P and Fitch, we're going to start with those. We're not going to hit Moody's yet. Because S&P. You get AAA. Everyone, AAA bond status. This is like the highest prime. It's great. Then you go to AA plus. Then you go to AA, and then you go to AA minus, because all of this makes sense.
Sure.
Then you go to A plus, you go to A minus, then you go to BBB plus, BBB, and BBB minus. And you're like, okay, well, this actually makes sense, but what does it mean to be a junk bond? It actually kicks in at BB plus, BB, and BB minus, which is speculative. And then it goes into the B's, the C's, and then D doesn't stand for default, but it means a bond is in default. And we've just done another navigating now Comcast, just like that. Just like that.
Look at that.
Who came up with this?
It's too many letters. Why didn't they just like go down the alphabet instead of having so many A's?
What if
Like,
you had a roadside assistance company called like Triple C Plus? Would you call them?
Probably not.
Probably not. No.
It's like, oh, I got this triptych from Triple B minus.
Triptych.
We got lost. Triptych. Oh man, nothing better than a triptych. All right, let's be done. Let's just end these shenanigans. Here's what to look for over the weekend, assuming you start listening right now. President Trump truthed out that he is going to put a 50% tariff on the European Union at the beginning of June if they don't come to the table. So keep an eye on the markets over the next couple of days while you're celebrating Memorial Day weekend. Kristen, good luck with your life. Dame, good luck with yours. And to all of you, sending good vibes, because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the Pete the Planner Show.
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
Is that going to make the cut for IBJ or for the radio show?
Oh, I should. I can do that. I hadn't thought about that.
I think it should.
I should totally do that. I'm going to do that. All right, I gotta go. I gotta put in this Herculean prepared meals street corn chicken.
How many different flavor, variety? How many different kinds of those have you had? Have you had? Not do they have, but have you had?
10, maybe 8 to 10.
Are there any new ones in the rotation when you went to buy, or is it pretty much
they're constantly adding new ones, and they're not all like locked in for high protein, low carb. Like there's different sort of paths, if you will. But I try to go high protein, and then like calories are always between like 300 and 500, and I know, Kristen. Yeah, smaller. The problem is if you're really hungry and you're not really watching it, you're like, well, I'm going to eat 3 of these and pay $27 for my lunch. David asked the sodium content.
Water.
That's a great question.
This is 880 milligrams of sodium. But
Just
again,
that's a lot or not.
I don't know how to tell you that. Hey guys, I hope you have a AAA bond rated weekend. So stupid. Really the dumbest. It kind of makes sense, but there's so many of them, as Kristen, I think, said during that segment. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
Well, I have something to tell you guys off the air.
Oh,
I'm going to tell you right now. Hey, everyone else who's not going to hear this juicy bit of hot goss, stay getting money.